All right, let's talk about something we all know too well in the business world. Digital tools. We're drowning in them. But what happens when all those amazing systems actually create more chaos than clarity? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful framework that's designed to fix that exact problem, to turn all that digital noise into real, measurable value. It's called a Digital Value Management System, or DVMS for short.
So just for a second, think about your own operations. Your cloud platforms, your data systems, all those workflow tools. Does it ever feel like they're all speaking completely different languages? It's an incredibly common problem, and that very disconnect, that's what can grind all your progress to a screeching halt.
Now this diagram, yeah, it looks complicated, and that's exactly the point. This is the before picture for so many organizations. You've got these siloed systems, you've got inconsistent rules, and you have almost zero visibility into how one single action affects anything else. And what's the result? Well, it's fire drills during audits, and that constant feeling that you're just reacting to problems instead of actually preventing them. It's basically a state of organized chaos. Sound familiar?
So what's the fix? Well, here's the most important part. It is not about going out and buying another piece of technology. No way. It's about creating a system for all the systems you already own. And this is exactly where the Digital Value Management System comes into play.
What's really fascinating here is that a DVMS isn't software you just go and install. It's not another dashboard to stare at. Think of it more like a blueprint or a management layer that sits on top of your entire digital world. Its whole job is to organize everything and make sure every single part works together toward a common goal.
Let's be crystal clear about what a DVMS is and what it isn't. You can see here, it organizes your operations around what actually creates business value. It defines who is accountable for what, and it structures how you measure success. Now look at what it doesn't do. It doesn't replace your existing tools. It's not some new monitoring system or workflow engine. Instead, it gives all those tools you already have a shared purpose and a clear direction.
Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, right? But how does it actually work? How does a DVMS take that chaos we saw earlier and forge it into real, reliable structure? Let's get into the mechanics of it. It really boils down to a pretty simple three-phase approach. First, you define what are called your value streams. These are the core processes that actually matter to your business, something like customer onboarding. Second, you map every single digital asset involved in that process and you set the rules. And third, you measure the performance of that entire stream, from the very beginning to the very end. This is how you finally shift from just managing technology to actually managing outcomes.
And this brings us to the single most important concept in this whole thing: traceability. This is the secret sauce right here. A DVMS creates this clear, unbreakable line of sight from a high-level business goal all the way down to the specific line of code or server that supports it. Let me show you exactly what I mean with a quick example.
Okay, so let's say it all starts with a simple, high-level business policy. Our why. Customer data must be protected.
All right, we've got our why. Protect the data. That high-level policy is then broken down into the what, the specific technical controls we need. Things like making sure encryption is always on and setting up really strict access rules. And from there, we connect the what to the where. So those controls, encryption and access, get mapped directly to the systems that actually touch that customer data, whether it's an AWS storage bucket, a profile in your CRM, or some internal API.
And here's where the magic happens. Because you now have this complete, visible chain, you can pull data from the tools you already have and prove that your policy is being enforced. You've closed the loop. You've gone from just stating a rule to having auditable proof that it's actually working. That is traceability.
So what happens when you apply this way of thinking across your entire organization? Well, the payoff is huge. It fundamentally changes how you manage technology, shifting the focus away from all the fragmented parts and onto the total value they deliver together. So let's look at this shift. The old way, we're measuring technical stuff like CPU usage, we're constantly reacting to problems, and we're securing individual systems in their own little bubbles. The DVMS way is totally different. Now you're measuring things that matter to the business, like the time to onboard a customer. You're proactively driving continuous improvement, and you're protecting the entire onboarding value stream, not just its pieces. And so we arrive at the after picture. Remember that chaotic mess from the beginning? This is what it looks like with the DVMS supplied. Now, notice, the technology hasn't changed. They're the same systems, but now they're all aligned to clear value streams. You have end-to-end visibility and a real foundation for improvement,
because everything is finally organized with purpose.
So when all is said and done, what does this structured approach really give you? Well, the benefits are direct and they are powerful. You get way more value from the tech you already own. You dramatically lower your risk. You can adapt to change much faster. Audits become simple check-ins instead of these frantic all-hands-on-deck emergencies. And maybe most importantly, you build a system that is literally designed for continuous improvement.
You know, there's a quote from the source material that just completely nails this entire concept. It says, most organizations don't have a technology problem, they have a lack of structure, alignment, and accountability. That's it. That's what DVMS is built to solve. Not the systems themselves, but the chaos that happens between them.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about for your own organization. Are you ready to stop just managing systems and finally start managing value? Thanks for joining this explainer.